afternoon. I hope we're having a nice time learning and celebrating the success of people who are doing well in real estate. So moving quickly to our next panel for next discussion. And moderating our next panel discussion is no other than Mr. John Owoeye, who is the co-founder and CEO of Life Event. Mr. John, are you in the house?
Yes, I'm in the house. Confirm you can hear me, please.
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great, great. Okay, so on the panel, we have Mr. Maurice Okoli, founder, Afiril. Please confirm you're in the house. Mr. Maurice Okoli, you in the house? Okay, I'm sure you'll be joining us soon. Also on the panel, joining us on the panel is also Mr. Sean Godi. Are you here? Mr. Sean, good afternoon.
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Great, great. Good to have you here. Mr. Sean is the founder of Diversity Property Solutions. Good to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
You're welcome. And also on the panel is Mr. Wayne Berger. Are you in the house? Managing partner, Shark Ventures, co-founder, Protech Africa.
Yes, I'm in the house. Thank you for having me.
Excellent, excellent. So we have a good house. We're going to go into our discussion. But just before we do that, we have a short presentation. Now before I hand over to Mr. John Owoeye. Cedarview, a presentation from Cedarview. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. I just want to be sure that you can hear me. Okay.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. I'll start by saying good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, and I want to thank the organizers of this program for bringing about a meeting place of great minds to discuss the pertinent issues and to shape the future and discussions around the real estate. I mean, one of the very strong thoughts, amongst many others, that came through yesterday from one of the speakers was that, I mean, with the COVID-19 and the new realities and the new normal that we found ourselves, that we worship online, we work online, but we've not been able to find anyone that lives online. That sets the tone for the conversation that we'll be having. A short presentation by Cedarview Communications Limited, of which I am the MD CEO of Cedarview. I'll try to share my screen so that we could do, I might need some rights to do that because I have some presentation to put across. Stephen, would I have the rights to share my screen? So I could put up a presentation.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, you can share. You can go ahead.
All right, it still says post-disabled attendees. Yeah. Might be a back-end thing. I know sometimes technology.
Yeah, technology can be a bit of...
But it's okay.
Can you share now?
All right, I'll try it one more time. Okay, I'm fine. Great. Thank you. I think it works now.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. All right. Just want to confirm that the screen is there, and
Yes, we can see your screen.
fantastic. So it's the future of the home and the home of the future, and we're looking at three perspectives to that: the smart, the safe, and the social part of it. Cedarview Communications Limited, we're over 9 years, will be 10 January next year. Our core competencies are around enterprise solutions, system integration, consulting, and software development. We're an emerging leader in the design and planning and implementation of ICT solutions. I have a pleasure to lead a team of very brilliant, bright individuals. And I have a co-founder as well, in the person of Mr. Olawale, that have changed the narrative and brought about certain innovations in enterprise solutions. And lately, we've delved into the residential solutions in the real estate segment. And I'll get into a bit of that as we go on in the presentation. For that, Cedarview, on an overview of Cedarview. This is our reality now. The lines between the workplace and the home fits absolutely. We saw that, we envisioned this, but I think COVID-19 has brought this to the fore, accelerated that, and there's no doubt that technology adoption has been on the increase, not only in Nigeria, but world over. With the lockdown and the sit at home, social distancing, the effect has been mitigated by the technology prowess and innovations of different service providers. I mean, if we look back and think about the former days when we had strikes and we had a lot of partial lockdowns, right? And check the effect of that on life and business. This, no doubt, has not been as disruptive to our everyday life as it could have been, save for the fact that you had internet service, remote working opportunities, e-commerce, and also we would also give it to the government for allowing essential services run even in the period of the lockdown. The World Economic Forum, a global think tank that shapes thoughts in different domains, have told us that the whole world is not exempted from the twin forces of globalization and technology in shaping the future of work, communities, and culture. And that's you can't argue that at the moment. It has come to stay. And we're talking now about the now normals, right? I like to set the context for my postulations, if you would, the things that underpin the certain thoughts we're here to share. Statistics have been taken from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, NBS, driven by Dr. Kale. Wonderful statistics. One of the things we see coming across is that there's an annual population growth of 2.6% in Nigeria. And that shows that in about 30 to 40 years, our population would double if it continues to grow at this same rate, right? There's a housing deficit of between 16 million and 22 million houses. And I projected some of these figures because I think the last actual data was 2018. And just extrapolating that to the current 2020 in which we have. Poverty and inequality gap, the national poverty line is about 40.09. You have an urban poverty ratio of 18% and a rural of 52%. And on the flip side of all of that, I try to see what are the trends that would stem out of those raw data. Starting from the list, it's going to drive rural-urban migration. Everyone has the right to migrate to where they feel they have more economic potential and they can realize their dreams. If the rural dwellers are less likely to succeed, are more accustomed to poverty, then they have the right to move to any part of the country to do business. And that's what we see. I mean, at a particular time, the former governor of Lagos State alluded to the fact that no less than 15,000 people arrive in Lagos day in, day out. And from the statistics, I mean, you have Lagos being the one with the least poverty ratio or percentages, right, in the country. The housing deficit has also thrown up real estate private developers as against individual home ownership schemes that was the case some 30 years ago, and government mass housing schemes. I mean, I don't remember the Jakonde housing schemes and the other ones. But today, we have a lot of developers that are playing in that space, trying to bridge the housing deficit. And like I said before, the WEF, World Economic Forum, projects that there's a rapidly changing world economy that is driven by technology, data, and what they call the fourth industrial revolution, which is about artificial intelligence. And Stephen did mention that jokingly some moments ago. So with all of these statistics and the interplay of forces here, we're able to forecast an output, and certain thoughts are going to be put across having this kind of foundation. I've put up here a picture of a home that we are most accustomed to. In here is a smart home like we know it to be. There's a smart lock system, you have surveillance systems, you have HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning that are automated. Lighting is automated, audiovisuals are automated, and that's what we envision to be a home of the future. We talk about IoT and the Internet of Things, where your cars and machines and your refrigerators and everything in your home starts to talk one to another and also to talk with the outside world. We envision a future in which your shopping list and your grocery list by your wife or the housekeepers are already uploaded to the nearest e-commerce sites. And there's an auto refill delivery system that automates that. So you don't really need to go out to do so much because all of that data is available. But I'm trying to put out certain thoughts that should drive that in the Nigerian context. And primacy, the primary one on that list, and one that I would feel should drive every one of them, is safety. I've been to certain homes around, and I know the kind of bragging rights that occur when you step into the door and there's a panel there where the lighting control comes on, and you could control your home speaker system and your TV, etc., lighting and so on. Yeah, that kind of feel of accomplishment is, I mean, like you said, I mean, if you worked hard for it, you also have a right to enjoy your life. But I mean, I want to put that across and say, what about let's think around beyond the aesthetics? Why don't we think around safety of some of these things? And thankfully, we have a lot of leading real estate developers here. And I would ask that you lend me your ears and your attention for a few minutes. And we talk about certain things that are a bit emotional for me here. I see that, and I hardly see this in our development, where we put this at the last, on the last burner, or even below the burner, as it were. Do we connect our smoke detectors, our fire alarms, panic buttons, CO detection, cooking gas leakage sensors to a central alarm system that goes to a facility manager, or outsourced to an emergency response system? I say this with all of the mixed emotions, where I lost a friend, and well, a friend and also a friend's husband. He had slumped at home while his wife had gone on a trip with the children. And by just some stroke of divine intervention, she went back to the home thinking something was amiss. She was meant to be on the flight to an MBA conference in Abuja, and she just thought that her husband hadn't called to ask about her well-being. And she thought that something was amiss. And she went back taking that hunch, and a 50-year-old man had slumped on the staircase at the BQ. and the mother was in the main house, just because they did not have a system that could alert people. There was support around, but yet they were all alone. And that's one thing that technology can solve. I mean, the list goes on, even though it's painful, where we hear cases of fire accidents and things that are avoidable if only we could just pay attention to the very minute details of sensors. I mean, we talk about a medical condition happening as well. And we have systems today that can detect that. A panic button would alert. And many of the estates that we have today have facility manager offices, and that can be centrally controlled or connected so that an alarm goes through. I mean, and also we could also find a way of ensuring that this social support is available for us. And last but not the least is the attention that we need to pay to the amount of data that we are allowing to go to the very big service companies, without mentioning names, especially a lot of them in San Francisco, having a lot of data around us and can almost recommend to you what you'll be eating for dinner. So safety is paramount, and we have to address these safety concerns. Especially developers should look into that. The next thing is, yes, the house should be smart. All right, we see that in the nearest future, and we see that happening today. A lot of people have ditched their satellite TV for Netflix, for the kind of convenience and control that has given them. But it's going to leave the natural and the mundane high definition screens. And today we'll be looking at 4K and 16K screens, whereby we want to see the resolutions and possibly see your players on the field breathing and see and capture all the expression of their faces as you watch that blockbuster movie or some other soap opera. Everyone wants to be immersed in the world of TV. But that means there's a lot of demand on the throughput and data that has to go into the homes. And the 4G, 5G wireless technologies might be able to go a bit far, but not so far if we could also have put in fiber to almost all of the homes. And like I said, the developers are here. And in my later slides, you will see the kind of revenues that we are losing out because we are not giving an all-encompassing solution. I look at a future in which there'll be shopping will be convenient, like I'd said. And today this applies in the US. One of the largest e-commerce companies in the world already has that. I mean, they put sensors in your pantry to alert them when your cereals are going down, your milk has to be refreshed, and it's totally automated. And that's what's going to happen because people always want convenience day in, day out. Going further is that utility companies would also want to pick up some data from the home through sensors. I mean, your smart metering and all of that data. In other climes, it's possible that you do not have a flat rate year in, year out, right? All through the year. So they might want to start to say, what's your consumption pattern? And start to use such price incentives to ensure that energy is properly utilized. Say, for instance, telling you that you're charged a lot more, turning on your drawing so much more power at certain times of the day. Because, of course, everything has to be balanced time in, time out. Today as well, we talked, I mean, and Akintunde did mention about insurance. Today, your home insurance, fire insurance is flat. I mean, but that could also be driven by data to find out how careful or careless you are at home, right? Do you turn on things? How often does your sensors go off? And all of those data can also help you lessen the kind of insurance premium you'll be paying on some of your services, because data allows us to be able to gauge human behavior as it differs from one to another. But what's the point here? The point here is that developers could put in fiber into the homes and put in gateways and sensors. And we talk about Zigbee, LoRa, and all that kind of technology that we have available. And you could integrate with you and ensure that value is delivered on a recurring basis, even after you have long forgotten the sale of the house. And last but not least is the fact that I see that the home of the future will be one that is social. One thing that technology and COVID-19 has shown us is that robots are not going to take all of the jobs. there would always be the place for human interaction. Much more than anything, there's a yearning in man for the interconnectedness with one another. And I believe that that would be the form and feature of the home going forward, whereby you have neighborhood messaging systems that promote networking, trade, and trust. I mean, there are a lot of business that is done within your confines of your community, typically because trust is already given. I mean, we talk about KYCs in the banks and all of that, but what better KYC do you need much more than a neighbor that lives with you in the same proximity? And that's one of the things that we should start to see going forward, especially as we build estates and where people have a means of having communal living. I mean, and I talk around visitor management systems, RFID on vehicular movements, etc., community security apparatuses. I mean, what do I mean by that? There's an incursion in your home or an intruder comes, and then that your system picks that up. I mean, it might flag it up to your phone, but what of it that goes to your facility manager? What of it that is connected to the public security agencies in and around your area? Those are the kind of things that we envision and we are trying to build and have started building. And last but not least is the social support structures that help us in fitness programs. I mean, one of those estates in Lekki where I visited a friend, and they already have a routine where at certain times of the day, permit me without being at the risk of sounding the gender bias, when a lot of my friends, ladies also, they job together at a particular point in time, and that kind of motivates them to continue to do that. We talk about faith building because it's a communal form of living, and family bonding and honing collaboration skills that our children do need. That's what the home of the future is going to be. It's not going to be where you have a plot of land and you built your house and you have gated everybody in and gated other people out. The home of the future is going to be social. It's going to be in communities, and that's the way we envision it to be. I say this as I try to round up. There's an opportunity that beckons to developers at the moment. We can leverage your investments to shape the future, earn more return on them, and also keep ensuring that you keep earning this kind of returns by providing recurring value to your subscribers and to your residents. Henry Ford was asked the question, if he were to ask his customers at that time in the US, would they want faster horses? The answer would have been yes. But ultimately, he knew that it wasn't about the horse, it was about the Model T. And that's why he came out with the car and the automobile that has changed and shaped the last century. I say today, it is essential that we build homes with the future in mind. The customers today would need much more than a roof to lay their head. They will need a home to live in, a home to work from, and a home to play. Our job is to co-create that future with you and with other stakeholders. And I would say, how do we get started? The telephone number of our company is there, 01295-1555. Take that again, 01295-1555. It's on the screen, and you could send us an email at partnerships@cedarviewng.com. Once again, I say thank you for having me to share some thoughts that we've put together. And I say the future is now. We can co-create it because that's the best way to build value. It's no man knows it all, and no man knows nothing as well. Thank you for having me, and God bless you. Thank you.